the request of the senior class, the commencement speaker will be esteemed history teacher Bruce Berk. Master teacher, excellent tennis coach, director of the independent study program for seniors, part-time college counselor, and member of the strategic planning committee. Bruce Berk is truly a leader at Derryfield School and has been for many years. He's known for his quick wit, his engaging classes, and his dedication to students, always giving each student every bit of extra help they need to be successful. Among his colleagues, he's the consummate mentor and team player, and in addition, he is the father of a graduate.
Good morning. I would like to start today by thanking some people who aren't on stage here. And specifically, I would like to start by thanking the staff of this school, which makes the teachers in this school look terrific, that we can do the job that we do every day without worrying about the details. So the first round of applause today I would like to encourage you for is the staff of this school. Many of you don't know my sense of humor. Hopefully you'll get it in the next 20 minutes. But I affectionately call children, our children, crumb snatchers. And I would like to have the second round of applause to the middle school faculty who took these crumb snatchers, got them ready for us so that we could send them on their way. Second round. I understand that this day is all about the children to my left, but truthfully, it should be a little bit about us. And so what I would like to do, which I often do in my class to create a little energy, is to do an exercise with you today to get started. So you create a little energy, and then you put the intellectual hammer down on kids. This is how I teach. So for some seniors, for many of you, this may be the last time you get to do this. For the rest of you, this is going to be the first time you do this. What I want you to do is I want you to turn, I want you to turn to the person on your right. Now, if there's nobody on your right, I need you to turn to the person in front and back of you. If there's nobody there, you just need to figure it out. And if you really have a problem with it, you just call Mr. Powell, who's head of the upper school, and he'll solve the problem for you. So I want you to turn to the person on your right. And you're going to have to improvise a little bit here, seniors. And I would like you to say, here you go, you ready? Those kids on stage look fabulous. No. Wait. Just listen. But you know what? You look equally fabulous. You're not following directions. And the last line is, and this is going to be a terrific day for you too. Say it. Fabulous. So my background is history, as you heard. I could very easily get up here today and talk a little bit about the conundrum in Syria and American exceptionalism. I certainly could talk a lot about the explosion in the newspapers over the last few days about national security versus civil rights. But instead, I thought I would tell you 5 stories today. And each story has a very simple message. As a matter of fact, Dr. Carter and I have been overlapping the last couple of days. She stole one of my words the other day, and she stole one of my stories, but we'll still be friends after this is all over. I made these stories simple because I think the most valuable messages of human society have always been couched in simple terms. Frankly, everything I have to tell you today has been said before, but I believe that wisdom is the information that you're ready to receive. This is the 3rd time I've told this story. I told it once at the Derryfield commencement in 1996. Do the math, seniors. I think I've told it once to my family. They may say I'm getting old. I've told it several times, but I don't think that's true. Yet this time I'm going to give you a little bit more detail than when I told the story in 1996 because 9/11 intervened in the middle. And this story is about my boss, Richard, who was at the heart of this story that I'm going to tell you and perished on 9/11. Great guy, great human being. We just saw the world a little differently. And a bit over 30 years ago, I worked for his small business in Boston and was on a track to do really well. And if you like titles, when I was about 28 or 29, he offered me the opportunity to be the president of his company. And the caveat was that I had to sign a 3 to 5 year contract with Richard. I signed it and pretty quickly knew that this wasn't the right decision for me. So I went back into Richard. I told him. He didn't give me any pushback. He wished me the best. And he said to me, "What do you think you're going to do instead?" And I said to him, "I plan to teach." And I will never forget the image of Richard putting his head in his hands, looking at me afterwards and saying, "One day you will wake up and realize you've wasted your entire life." And while I loved Richard and I respected what he had accomplished and what we'd done together, to my mind, he confused success with significance, my desire to make a difference in the world. So here's the first time Miss Carter has stolen my thunder. Class of 2013, I want you to be a mensch, and you know what that word means now, and not a mercenary. I get uncomfortable every time I sit in school and someone says in this hall here, "Join this activity. It'll look great on your college resume." That's the mercenary. Now you have the opportunity to be the mensch, a purveyor of good deeds, someone of character. Steve Corby wrote, "Service is the rent we pay for living." You're leaving a place that you know I affectionately call the country club, where, believe it or not, and this is going to sound a little redundant, the people here only want what's best for you even when you don't feel that. And so I would ask you to think about a time, or 10, or 20, when a faculty member or staff has stopped by and offered you a piece of encouragement or kindness. It's not part of their job description, rather it's an act of respect and kindness. You should do the same. Randy Pausch, in his last work, entitled The Last Lecture, said it a little differently. Go out and do for others what someone has done for you. Second story. I have a friend named Carrie, not Carrie Foster. We'll get to her later. And Carrie and I have been friends since we were 14 or 15. And we have this kind of relationship that when we go out to dinner with our spouses, we fight so much that the people are convinced that we're married. And I need you to understand that most of the time when we fight, I am always right. And Carrie and her husband have been incredibly faithful in coming to my son's musicals and often come to his tennis matches. And about 4 weeks ago, we had a match at Oyster River, just a few minutes from their home. It was a bright, beautiful day. And they didn't come. And a little later, I got a text from Carrie saying that her husband just wasn't feeling up to it since he's in chemotherapy. And I should mention that in my own sensitive way, I call her husband Miracle Boy, because he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer 7 years ago. And soon after that terrible news, Carrie found out she was diagnosed with cancer and had a double mastectomy. And I should go on to add that Carrie currently is taking care of both her parents who are ill. And so when I called Carrie that night to check in with her and lament with her about the last 3 months, understand she now has Bell's palsy, I said to her, "You know, Carrie, I'm a good friend of yours. I am going to call Ellen DeGeneres, because you should be on that show. If you've watched Ellen DeGeneres, they always have somebody come on and they give them all sorts of things." And she, right in the middle of me saying this, Carrie said to me, and she loves to laugh, and you need to know she's laughing right through this conversation as we're going to this. She said to me, "You know what, Bruce? We feel so blessed." And so on my end of the phone, there's a little silence as I digested this thought. And what she was saying, although I hate it when she's right about anything, is that life is all about one's attitude. Life, you will find, can be unfair. And I know that Carrie has decided that adversity and unfairness are part of life, yet it's always how you face it. Story number 3. I'm going to practice some Chinese and talk about inspiration. 金祥, Songming, Shiming. For those of you whose Chinese is not very good, these are the names of 3 seniors sitting on stage here today who are from China. They are seeking a fulfilling life somewhere between, ready seniors, I know you'll make this connection, somewhere between winning a tennis match and being Chinese students. I bet you money before. Anybody want to take me up on the connection here? No way. Okay. Here's what it is. Inspiration is everywhere you look for it. You need to find your own inspiration in life. You need to seek it. You need to create it. You need to find it. And often, it's in the small and unobvious moments like Jingxian, Songnan, and Shiming, who have given up culture and family to seek opportunity. Look to be inspired in your life. You can find inspiration everywhere, and we need to. I'm back to betting money again. This is another proven teaching technique. If you offer kids money, they will do much better in class. Because I'm a teacher, I usually offer $1, but it's graduation, I have $2. I brought my money. Here we go. Seniors, I am thinking of a day. Thursday, September 3rd, 2009. If you can tell me why this is a significant day, hint, it's about high school, I will give you $2. That's why I brought a lot of money. It was your first day of high school. And you were rightfully obsessed with how you would fit in, how you looked, what Derryfield would be like. And half of you on that day had history class, and you walked into Miss Foster's room. And with that big, huge smile, she said, "Good morning, scholars. Welcome to the 9th grade." Half of you walked into my room. I said, "Summer's over. No more kumbaya middle school. Get your seatbelts buckled, and let's just get to work." But then we did something in common. We all read an article called Blasphemous Balls. It was a news article about American troops in Afghanistan, and parents, I think we read this maybe when you visited that night, with the goal of improving relations between Afghanis and Americans by dropping soccer balls out of helicopters into villages. And you might remember it was a terrific concept that went a bit awry because on the soccer balls was the flag of Saudi Arabia, and on the flag of Saudi Arabia is a verse from the Quran. So inadvertently, we had children kicking the Quran. And we used that as an introduction to the course, and here's where Dr. Carr and I are going to overlap again, that we coined a phrase for you. And the phrase was that we wanted to make you better cultural translators. It wasn't that American troops didn't have the best of intentions. We just probably weren't as good a cultural translators we should have been. And I'm here today to ask you to be better cultural translators, not only in your intellectual lives, but in your day-to-day life. You know, sometimes I think perhaps we offered you this concept too early. And so I am offering it again today. The world is a complex place. There is no simplicity, but we have to engage it, and you need to engage it. Alison Fink spoke here as a founder scholar, I think when you were in middle school, and she talked about the tension between the attraction of Facebook and the real world. Easy to engage Facebook. We all need to engage the real world. As you head off to college this year, I would also encourage you, like Dr. Carter, to be better cultural translators in your personal lives. I would ask you to be just a bit more sensitive in how you judge others. Some of you, like me, should look to be perhaps a bit more sensitive in how you interact with others. I have made a lot of progress. Others of you need to be a little less sensitive. Every interaction is not an Armageddon. I've often heard, twice today, you called the nice class. Be kind in how you relate, and be a bit forgiving. What seems critical today will not be critical tomorrow. I have one last story. 3 years ago, a high school buddy organized a 3-day, 2-night hike to the White Mountains. For those of you know the Whites, we went from Madison Hut up to Lake of the Clouds, and then down Tuckerman's out to Pinkham Notch. And although it's not the core of the story, I think you need to think for a moment. 12 guys went hiking together. We shared a room, and we all snored. Spouses of snorers, if you can just imagine for a moment, every morning guys getting up and complaining to each other about how bad they were with none of us getting any sleep. But that's a different story. Here's the interesting and intimidating part of the story. Was I hiked with a couple of guys I had seen occasionally since high school. But most of these guys I went to high school with, and I hadn't seen them since I was your age. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I didn't know some of them. And if you hike, you recognize this scene. Over the course of an 8-hour day, you find yourself hiking one-on-one with people for maybe an hour, maybe 3 hours. And we're not there asking, how was your day? We asked each other, how was your life? How was college? Did you get married? Did you stay married? Did you have children? How was your career? How's retirement? Class of 2013, we're talking about you doing this in 2053 or 54. Okay? Don't invite me, I'm not coming. My point is that we had a shared experience that we loved so much, but didn't realize it when we were in high school, that 40 years later we could come together and experience that bond. You cannot realize it now, but you have this same special bond. I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but last year my daughter said to my wife, "Why is it we're always seem to be about what's next? When is it about now?" In other words, when do I get to where I am going, and how do I know? Emotionally, it is about finding a place of special importance. And I'm suggesting to you that although you don't even know it yet, that Derryfield can be that place. I know that most of you will not return in the years ahead, but let this place in your later life be your touchstone. In a society that only looks forward, speeding ahead, take a moment, maybe a moment now, in this time and in this place and in this moment, to cherish this bond. So seniors, I lied to you. I want you to turn to your right one last time, and I want you to say, "Hey, I am so glad to be graduating, but I will always treasure this friendship." Don't you love my job? And if we shouldn't see each other for 40 or 50 years, I want you to have a really, really good life. I can hear Mr. Anthony in my ear saying, "Pathetic, cheap sentimentalism." I gave you 7 simple truths today. Be significant, absorb adversity, seek inspiration, be engaged, embrace kindness, find permanence, be loyal to something. We're just about done here. Seniors, if you are not listening, listen now. Jackie Robinson spoke at my high school graduation. Ken Burns spoke at my niece's high school graduation. And I get it, an iconic baseball player, iconic filmmaker. There's a difference. There's a difference. So seniors, as we go out the door, you don't have to yell this, but just loud enough so we know it. Mr. Berk gives us homework because, and Mr. Berk gives us more homework, he means he loves us. And so the difference between Ken Burns and Jackie Robinson and this faculty is that we love you the way they never could. Thank you.